Hi, Rich Tehrani here from the CTIA 2010 show in Las Vegas. Thanks for watching. Today on our program we've got Oscar Rodriguez, who's with Movius. He is the CEO and the president. Oscar, thanks for being on our program.
My pleasure, Rich. Thanks for having me.
So give us an overview of your company, please.
Well, Movius is a company that's really based and focused on applications for carriers. What we do is we enable carriers around the world to raise ARPU, lower churn, and expand their market share by delivering applications for either consumers or business environments that enable them to really serve their customers well. So that's kind of the broad picture of it.
So what sorts of apps?
Well, we do everything in messaging, right? Messaging is our focus, so everything as simple as voicemail and some of the things that go around it, like in a lot of emerging markets, you have missed call notification that happens around voicemail because people have a tendency to either be out of range or turn their phones off. So we have missed call notifications, call back now. If somebody calls you, you can call back now. So those are fairly simple, time-proven types of applications. And then we have some brand new things, right? Things that are oriented around enabling a carrier to offer some unique types of services. We have a new application that we announced initially at Mobile World Congress, and we're here at CTIA as well to discuss, and hopefully we've got a new announcement that'll be coming out fairly shortly here, which is oriented around the deployment of a second line service or a multi-line service. So it enables a carrier to then offer a second virtual phone line in conjunction with a messaging system to enable a consumer or an entrepreneur that may have multiple businesses to have individual phone lines connected to a single handset. So rather than having multi-SIM phones or rather than having multiple phones, like a lot of entrepreneurs juggle in emerging markets, we then offer multiple virtual phone lines that are connected with that handset. And if you return a message to the caller, then you see the caller ID of that virtual line they called, right, now your primary handset. So, in essence, these are sort of the spectrum of things we do. We do unified messaging, unified communications, and conferencing, large-scale audio-video conferencing for carriers to deliver to small business. And then we do a plethora of different types of consumer applications like voice SMS and an application we call Fun Talk, which enables you to record a message, like a college student, say, party at my house, send a wallpaper, send a ringtone, and receive that and have a party at your house, right? So we do a lot of different things focused on the carrier, delivering value for them to be able to increase their share.
And where is most of the innovation coming from right now in the world? Or what carriers are more likely to take your services and run with them?
Well, I think that innovation is coming from a lot of different places. I mean, if you look at what's happening in emerging markets, carriers there are getting increasingly adept at going after new and different ways to differentiate themselves. So this virtual phone line is a good example of what I discussed. Another one that I see a lot of innovation beginning to come from carriers that are deploying app stores, right? So not only are they deploying app stores, but they're encouraging an ecosystem. Right. So that kind of, not necessarily technological innovation, but really ecosystem, business-oriented innovation is really coming about. So, I think that a lot of carriers are concerned about the over-the-top. They're concerned about giving up the margin to the third-party application vendors that are not on their side. What we do is we sell to the carrier, we enable the carrier. If the carrier has a CapEx problem, we can do revenue share. If they don't want it in their facilities because they're either tapped out or they have a green problem or a power supply problem, et cetera, we can deliver a hosted solution with a partner that we have here in the United States called Neutral Tandem, right? So we can offer applications in any way they want to buy it, and enable them to really control their future and control where their margin's coming from in the future as well.
So what's next for the market, do you think?
What's next for the market? So I think what's next for the market is that carriers are going to become increasingly interested in being able to call the shots on their own market. They want to be able to test the demographics of the market. They want to be able to have a way to turn applications on and try something in the consumer space or the business space and have really effectively a set of applications that can easily be tried before they're bought. And we're working into that, right? Our solution really is all about enabling the carrier that once they deploy the first app, the next app and the next app and the next app is easy to turn on because the platform's in place, it's connected to the IMS network, it's connected as a part of the 3G or 4G network, whatever they happen to be. We're agnostic to that. We connect to IP, we connect over SIP, or we connect to TDM if that's what you need to do. So it's really about flexibility and being able to then worry less about the technology and worry a lot more about how do I drive revenues, how do I lower churn, how do I increase my market share.
Now, should a company like yours also be focusing on writing apps for specific app stores, or is there a conflict there?
Well, app stores are a way to get to market. right? One of the things that we do is we offer some applications clearly to the carrier directly, or even for their own app stores, or we have applications on the BlackBerry App Store. We have an application called Snapback, and what Snapback does is, in a lot of places in the world, you have BlackBerries deployed, and the networks are not the most robust in the world. So you get a lot of dropped calls. Maybe some places in the US you get the same thing. If you're in California close to the mountains, you're going to get some dropped calls. Well, what Snapback does is once it's enabled and configured, it automatically will note that the signal has dropped and then reconnect as soon as the signal comes back up without an action by the user itself. So that goes on the BlackBerry store.
What does something like that cost?
Well, right now we've got on the BlackBerry App Store, there's a rudimentary version of it, and then there's a more sophisticated version. The more rudimentary version is roughly $1.99, and then the more sophisticated version with a few more bells and whistles is a little more than that.
So it sounds like you're hedging your bets, right? You're in a bunch of different areas trying to get to as many consumers as possible.
Well, our goal is to really expand the carrier's market share,
Sure.
right? So, the way I see it is less about hedging our bets and a lot more about enabling the carrier not to worry about how do I deploy a client or something that goes on a BlackBerry or on a Nokia phone or on an iPhone, whatever it happens to be, rather than worry about how do I get the end manufacturer to pre-package this, or how do I worry about taking a third-party app and have it pre-packaged for me by yet another third party. Instead, by going to the App Store itself, we enable the carrier to deliver a client-based application without worrying about the logistics.
Right.
So really, for us, it's all about enabling the carrier to do better business.
Because that really is a carrier. It's a solution that helps the carrier in that case.
Absolutely.
Right?
We think app stores are really part of it.
Customer less upset because they had to
right.
navigate traffic and then hit the redial button.
That's right. That's right.
So that makes a lot of sense.
That's part of what we do.
Well, it's very exciting, and I
is.
appreciate you being on the program
Well,
today.
thank you, Rich. It's really a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thanks.
likewise.
Take care.
Good.